Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another informative weekend edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host Theodore Henry. As the holiday winds flow towards us with high decibels, we're unpacking tips to protect your hearing, serving precaution against a briny affair, and calculating how to budget for your Christmas spending. All these and more coming up on the other side of this break.
Out of many, let us all unite. We are one people that will win this fight. Strong against corruption, yeah, this is right. So we should all unite and commit to the fight against corruption, that's the mission. Out of many, one people, there is no division. Seen it clearly, integrity is the vision. Only good can come from a nation that's built with ambition. It's a must we facilitate growth, cause we want our children's future to be filled with hope. Out of many, let's all unite.
A message from the Integrity Commission.
Thanks again for being here. The Yuletide season stimulates a craving to be entertained by the melodies that bring us joy. In this feel-good mood for the Christmas season, we want you to be cautious to preserve one of the less thought-about aspects of your health, your sense of hearing. As you'll see and hear, it's important to know when audio decibels are too high and run the risk of damaging your ear.
Hey there! So I recently came across a post from the World Health Organization, and I'm just here assuming that, like me, you're also looking for ways to take care of yourself, right? Well, let's hope so. The post read, 1 in 2 young people is at risk of hearing loss. So here goes. This is what I learned about safe listening habits. How do you even know when noise is damaging your hearing? There are easy tells, and most likely you've experienced one, if not all. You have to raise your voice to talk to other people. You cannot hear what people nearby are saying. It hurts your ears. You have hearing after. Did you hear that? Okay, back to what I was saying. If you have ringing in your ears or muffled hearing afterwards, the noise is quite possibly loud enough to damage your hearing. So, what can you do? Keep the volume down. Do not listen to music at more than 60% of the maximum volume. Do not use earphones or headphones for more than an hour at a time. Take a break for at least 5 minutes every hour. Use earplugs in noisy places. Also, if you're in a noisy environment, try to take a break every 15 minutes. Give your hearing about 18 hours to recover after exposure to lots of loud noise. Limit time spent on loud activities. Monitor sound levels using mobile apps. And finally, check your hearing regularly. We oftentimes drown our listening habits in the noise and the vibe. But as you just learned, it takes very little to take care of our hearing health. And that's it. Easy, simple, and done. Happy hearing.
Watch the trend, pick up the trend. This are the trend for all the youths them.
Calling all primary and secondary school students.
Hello?
This is just for you. Come and show your dance moves by joining the Trend Challenge. This will be your chance to let your creativity shine. All you have to do is follow the Ministry of Education at MOEY Jamaica on TikTok and Instagram. Create a 60-second dance video using the Trend jingle. Post the video on your TikTok channel, tag at least 3 of your friends, and use the hashtags #TrendChallenge, #TrendBrighterJA, and #EveryChildCanLearn before December 31. Easy, don't? We're looking for winners. So the top 3 videos with the most views will get amazing prizes. Winners will be announced on Monday, January 8, 2024. Hey, and don't forget to get your parents and teachers involved so we can keep it trending.
This is Trend, Transforming Education for National Development, a program designed by the Ministry of Education and Youth.
Non-communicable diseases such as hypertension are often the result of lifestyle choices such as unhealthy eating habits. In our next feature, we examine the risk of consuming too much salt and steps to address the problem in Jamaica.
Most of us are very familiar with salt. The most common is table salt. The chemical name is sodium chloride and it's a common component of the food supply in most countries. There are several other sources of salt, including monosodium glutamate or MSG as it's commonly known, and sodium bicarbonate or baking soda. Salt is commonly used to flavor food and is used as a binder, stabilizer, as well as preservative. Sodium, or salt as we know it, plays an important role in the proper functioning of our body, with just about 500 milligrams needed daily to carry out normal body functions, such as water balance and nerve conduction. However, most of us are consuming much more than is needed.
Global estimates suggest that persons consume between 9 to 12 grams of salt per day, which is 1.5 to 2 times the recommended intake level.
This briny affair is one of the key factors in our non-communicable disease burden. In simple terms, our overconsumption of this nutrient is contributing to the development of several diseases.
When we look at the heart and cardiovascular system, increased salt intake is associated with high blood pressure, with ischemic heart disease, with hypertensive heart disease, as well as heart failure. For the brain, it's associated with stroke, as well as dementia. For the kidneys, with chronic kidney disease and renal stones. For the stomach, there is an association with increased risk of stomach cancer. For the bones, there's problems related to osteoporosis.
High blood pressure or hypertension affects 1 in 3 Jamaicans, and another third is pre-hypertensive. Salt consumption is also often accompanied by increased intake of calories, which increases the propensity for obesity.
Given that the entire population is at risk of NCDs, given the significant impact and the burden of NCDs, it's imperative that there is sustained action to mitigate the effects of salt consumption.
In 2021, the Ministry of Health and Wellness launched the Jamaica Salt Consumption Knowledge, Attitudes and Practice Jamaica Salt CAP study. It was designed to provide local baseline data for strengthening strategies to eliminate overconsumption of salt within the population. The ministry is partnering with the National Non-Communicable Disease Committee, the National Health Fund, and the University of the West Indies on the study.
One important aspect of addressing the health concerns of any population is through research. This study, therefore, will help to determine the knowledge, attitude, and practices of our population as it relates to salt intake and strengthen the implementation of strategies to reduce.
This project has specific objectives. So firstly, we aim to estimate the dietary sodium consumption among Jamaicans using spot urine sodium analyses. We want to evaluate the salt content in commonly consumed packaged foods sold in supermarkets. We also want to evaluate the sodium content in commonly used consumed foods in local restaurants. Then we will conduct a national survey to get information on knowledge, attitudes, and practices regarding salt intake in Jamaica.
The World Health Organization (WHO) recommends less than 5 grams of sodium per day for adults and less than 2 grams for children under 11 years of age. 1 in 10 Jamaicans consume excess salt by adding it during cooking or at the table, as well as by frequent consumption of salty sauces or high-sodium processed foods. A significant amount of sodium also comes from ready-made meals and prepared foods, including processed meats, breakfast cereals, and snacks. It's a scenario where the entire population is at risk for NCDs. Minimizing this habit for excess salt in the diet of Jamaicans is one of several goals informing the Ministry of Health and Wellness's NCD agenda. The mission to shake the salt habit begins with the young. Lowering sodium in children's diets today can help prevent heart disease later in life, especially for those who are overweight. Limit their consumption of salty snacks. And remember, no more than 2 grams per day from all food sources for those under 11 years of age. Let's also shop and cook smart. Use less or no salt when cooking and add more flavor to your food by using fresh herbs and salt-free seasoning instead. Also, keep a watch on the foods that are high in salt and limit the consumption. Take the time to carefully read the nutrition labels on food products to determine those providing the healthier options, and be mindful of the portion size you consume. Also, seek out recipes for healthy, tasty meals that can be prepared with little or no salt.
Jamaica is a signatory to the United Nations International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, which recognizes the right of everyone to the highest standard of health. And we believe that in order to achieve this, we must address the crises of NCDs and the role that excess salt, sugars and fats play in making Jamaicans susceptible to getting a lifestyle disease.
Jamaica has committed to the World Health Organization voluntary target to reduce sodium or salt consumption by 30% by 2025. Achieving this requires buy-in from all stakeholders, including manufacturers, retailers, health professionals, and consumers.
So we have a duty to ensure that Jamaicans are aware of the harmful effects of unhealthy diets and have access to important nutritional information, which will allow them to make healthier food choices. It has to be tackled initially from the prevention perspective, and the core of that is consumer information, and then policies that encourage or nudges health-seeking behavior.
We all must do our part to break this briny affair. Shake the salt habit and stay healthy.
Maintaining environmental health and balanced ecosystems are important for the preservation of human life and livelihoods. Keep watching to learn about government strides in environmental and policy development to create a sustainable future.
I am Joni Jackson, Director, Environment Policy Development and Monitoring, acting in the Environment and Risk Management branch. The Environment and Risk Management branch is responsible for the development of policies, legislation, and programs for effective environmental management. And we provide policy guidance to the Minister, the Executive Branch, and other statutory bodies, as well as carry out focal point responsibilities under a number of multilateral environmental agreements. The natural environment is critical to economic development, and this is identified in Vision 2030 as Goal 4 is Jamaica has a healthy natural environment. The natural environment provides a variety of goods and services, and it also provides functions such as mitigating floods, providing water resources, climate regulation, and also providing recreational spaces. The policy and legislative framework that is set by the ministry regarding environmental matters allows us to carry out activities, economic activities and other activities in a sustainable manner. And in so doing, we preserve our natural resources for future generations. The work that we do also ensures that these activities that we carry out have as little impact on the environment as possible, for, by example, setting standards for discharges to the environment. The ministry has been able to advance our policy agenda, and in the last 3 years, we have been able to have 3 policies approved: the biosafety policy for Jamaica, the updated climate change policy framework and the emissions policy framework for Jamaica. In addition, we have a draft watersheds policy, which was approved as a green paper earlier this year. And in addition to advancing the policy agenda, we have declared 3 new protected areas under the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act: the Cockpit Country Protected Area, the Pedro Keys and Surrounding Waters Protected Area, and the Black River Landscape and Seascape. So going forward, now that we have made some strides with respect to policies, we will be advancing the legislative agenda. We'll be pursuing amendments to the Forest Act, which is already in train, the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act, the Wildlife Protection Act, and the Watersheds Protection Act once we have an approved watersheds policy. We will also be working on some of the subsidiary legislation under the Natural Resources Conservation Act, which are the wastewater and sludge regulations and the air quality regulations. And once we have a new Forest Act, we will also be amending the regulations under that. Environmental impact assessment regulations are also being developed, and we will be doing new legislation related to protected areas and climate change. At the last meeting of the Convention on Biological Diversity, the Conference of the Parties in December 2022, a new global biodiversity framework was approved, the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and it sets new global targets related to biodiversity. As a party to the convention, we will also be developing new national targets to contribute to achieving those global targets, and we will also be updating our national biodiversity and strategy and action plan. The government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, is protecting our natural resources, thereby creating a sustainable environment.
Up next, our vision is to ensure that Jamaica is a place within which geospatial information, various forms of
nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Original.
At this time of the year, the possibility of having a joyful Christmas is something to look forward to. Families are a big part of the season. There are loads of fun, food, and joy. And who better to tell us how much they longed for this experience than the child who wished it? It's the wish of these children from state care that are answered through the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA's Take a Child Home program. The program invites members of the public to host children for the Christmas holiday period, providing them with that warm family experience. The program returns after being on pause due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think the exciting part about this program is that it extends beyond just biological families, and so families in Jamaica who just decide that they want to open their homes and their hearts to children get an opportunity to do that at Christmas time.
Regional Director for the CPFSA's Northeast Region, Carolyn Stewart, says over 300 children benefit each year from the program since its inception in 2018. Interested persons must meet the following criteria to participate in the program: be 25 years and over, have a valid ID, 2 passport-size photographs, and 2 references from a justice of the peace, pastor, or high-ranking police officer. You must agree to being interviewed by a children's officer, agree to members of your household being interviewed, and agree to the CPFSA conducting a home visit and assessment.
So once the application is in, within 5 to 7 working days, applicants are able to hear from us. Remember, now we need time for the home assessment and that kind of thing. Now, depending on proximity to the office and where our investigators are at the time, there are persons who might really get express service, but we want to, say 5 to 7 days just to make sure that we cover all our ground. We just want to make sure that the children are comfortable, that there is a safe space for the child, that supervision for the child is considered during the holiday season. And so that home assessment and community visit is really just to make sure that we know exactly who it is we have included in our program.
It's a time to reflect and celebrate in the spirit of love and joy. Children are most in need of this.
The uptake has been good. The response from Jamaica has been excellent. And even narrowing down to very close to the holiday, we are still sometimes getting calls for persons who just really want to be a part of it.
The Take a Child Home initiative is open to children in state care between ages 3 and 18 years. Families can choose how long they want the child to stay.
Island-wide, most schools close out for Christmas break around about the second to third week in December. Once that time comes, the holiday program can start, the placement can begin, and there is no window in terms of number of days or number of weeks, except that the children go back to school in January.
It's an opportunity to create the best Christmas memories for a child who needs it.
No, some of the best experiences I've had is seeing children really warm up to the families. And when you drive up into a yard and you see biological children of the applicants run out with arms wide open, you realize that there are really no borders when it comes to children.
For more information on the Take a Child Home program, visit childprotection.gov.jm/opportunities-to-nurture or contact the CPFSA headquarters at 876-948-1145 or 0243.
We're close to the end of today's half-hour journey inside Jamaica Magazine, but before that, here are some important budgeting tips to help you plan for your Christmas spending.
For many people, Christmas is dazzling lights, decorations, festivities, an abundance of food, gift giving, and excessive spending. But there is an old saying, one day feasting, next day fasting. And unfortunately, if you are not mindful of how you spend during the season, when January rolls around, you may find yourself unable to pay your bills and in some cases, literally starving. Do you want to be one of those people? Of course not. So the smart thing to do is to create a budget and stay within it.
Some of the things you can do to stay in budget for this Christmas is to first make a list. Make sure that list includes everything that you'd want to do this Christmas. So not just buying gifts. I think we tend to only think about gifts when we're making our Christmas list. but definitely include things like home decor. A lot of us want to refresh our place, change out Christmas decor that we had last year, and also include things like food. So a lot of us will have friends and family coming over. Definitely make a budget for the ham, the drinks, the cake, and so it will overall just be your Christmas budget, your ideal Christmas budget. It's extremely important to stay in budget this season. You don't want 2022 to catch you deeper in debt, and then create just that financial and emotional stress that comes with being in a position where you can't afford certain things because you have to be clearing off the credit card debt from Christmas. So it also just generates to your emotional well-being of the importance of really sticking within budget and making sure that you're making room for things like savings, major goals that you have next year that you may have had to put off because you overspent for Christmas. So you definitely want to ensure that you're still able to save for those unexpected occurrences, and also to prepare for the major goals that you might have for 2022, like home purchasing, getting insurance, very important, investing, and just preparing for probably that next step in your child's life.
And for those people who tell themselves that tomorrow is not promised, so they're living for now?
Tomorrow is going to come. And if it's not going to affect you, it will affect somebody close to you. So I'd always say, make sure whatever you're spending this season, you are taking into account what is going to happen in 2022. It's going to come, and as I said, if it doesn't come for you, it's going to affect your family if you didn't make the right financial decisions today.
So, as you work on your Christmas list, separate your wants from your needs and focus on the essentials. Most people have a to-do list. Today, we will introduce you to the not-to-do list. Tips, tricks, and strategies to help you live within your means and recognize your financial constraints. Gift giving. For some people, it's not Christmas if there are no gifts. However, if you can't afford it, then there is no obligation to give. Admit this to yourself and make it known to those with outstretched palms. Traveling. That trip that you did not save for can always wait. Yes, the lockdown measures have relaxed a bit, but that's no reason to spend money that you don't really have. Plan a staycation, it's cheaper. Keeping up with the Joneses. This phrase is not new by any means. Nevertheless, it needs to be said.
Keeping up with people on social media, especially in the age that we're living now, you want to do so much, and sometimes it's just beyond your income and your capacity to do so. So I would say definitely stay in your lane, focus on your income, what you want your Christmas to look like, and don't compare it with anyone else's. And don't feel like you need to go overboard for the persons that you love and spend beyond what you're able to do. People who love you will just appreciate what you give them, especially if it's something that you put a lot of thought and time into. Check yourself emotionally. A lot of overspending comes because, especially during a pandemic, some of us might be feeling down emotionally, just depressed, and we turn to retail to make ourselves feel better. But we know what can happen with that. It just now creates this cycle because you now feel depressed because of the debt that you're in. So I would say definitely check yourself. Make sure that you're not spending from an emotional standpoint and that you're not spending because of impulse. So as I said, make that list and check it twice and check yourself as well.
This is where we leave you on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be here on this station tomorrow for more information you can use to transform your life. Until then, visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and other offerings. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.